Okay. Hi po. This is our interview. And for the first question, who usually provides for your school expenses and allowance? And how do you manage when it's not enough?
My parents usually provides my expenses. My father gives me a minimum of 1,000 per month, while my mother provides my school expenses.
Hmm. So, what financial struggles do you face as a student? And how do these affect your studies or daily school life?
I often come across the challenges of weighing my needs and wants in my daily life. While my needs does it is important, there is also ones that I wanted to manage. I need to manage throughout the month.
Mm. When you don't have enough money, what do you usually do to cope? And what strategies or habits help you manage your money?
Uh, when there are times kasi that I will spend my money irrationally, especially if I'm going to hang out with my friends. So if that's the case, I usually count my money if it's going to fit for the next week until my next allowance arrive. But if not, I usually my mother usually provides an extra money for me to do for the next week.
Do you sometimes find extra ways to support your school needs? If yes, how?
I don't have any extra ways. However, I'm looking for new ways to provide for my school expenses to lighten the load for my parents.
Who or what helps you the most in overcoming your financial difficulties?
My mother is most knowledgeable when it comes to money, how to manage it, how to budget it, and all. That's why she's have a big influence on me when it comes to my finance.
Mm. How do your financial struggles influence the way you handle money? For example, do ones like trending clothes or gadgets sometimes affect your budget?
If I'm going to weigh the fashion trends in the current moment or and my needs, it won't be enough. My allowance won't be enough during the month. That's why uh I always discipline myself or hold back myself to save up if really wanted that. If not, I will just focus on providing for my needs throughout the month.
Okay. Thank you for your cooperation and your answers po.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us today. My name is Jaina Soria and I'm here to ask you a few questions for our interview. So, your first question, are you ready?
Yes, absolutely.
So, your first question, who usually provides for your school expenses and allowance, and how do you manage when it's not enough?
My parents usually provide for my school expenses and allowance. However, when it's not enough, I try to budget carefully and prioritize what's really important.
That's good. So, question number two. What financial struggles do you face as a student, and how do these affect your studies or daily school life?
My financial struggles faced as a student is when I buy a project or some tuition fee.
When you don't have enough money, what do you usually do to cope, and what strategies or habits help you manage your money?
When I don't have enough money, I try to stretch my allowance by spending only on what's necessary. I also list down my expenses so I can track where my money goes. Sometimes I bring food from home to save or avoid unnecessary trips or spending on things like milk tea or clothes.
It's good. So, do you sometimes find extra way to support your school needs? If yes, how?
Yes, sometimes I find my small ways to earn to save more. For example, tuition tutor or sell snacks or help classmates with schoolwork, but exchange for a little pay.
Who or what helps you the most in overcoming your financial difficulty? difficulties.
My parents and close friends help me the most. They encourage me not to give up and sometimes lend me what I need. I also rely on my faith and motivation to do well in school so that someday I can repay all their support.
So for the last question, how do your financial struggles influence the way you handle money? For example, do you want like trending clothes or gadgets sometimes affect your budget?
My financial struggles have taught me to be more disciplined with money. Of course, I still want nice things like clothes or gadgets, but I learned to control myself and focus on my priorities.
So that's all for my questions. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing your experiences. Your answer will really help us with our research.
Hi, thank you for agreeing to this interview. This is for our research about grade 11 ABM students facing a financial struggles at Golden Faith Academy. Your answer will really help us. Can I begin with the first question?
Yes.
Okay, question number 1. Who usually provides for your school expenses and allowance, and how do you manage when it's not enough?
My parents are the ones who gave me allowance and I avoid buying things I just want and focus on my needs first.
Okay, thank you. Let's proceed to the second question. What financial struggles do you face as a student, and how do these affect your studies or daily school life?
When I run out of money for transportation because it becomes hard for me to go to school or buy new school materials lalo na kapag kailangan ito.
Okay. Next, third question. When you don't have enough money, what do you usually do to cope? And what strategies or habits help you manage your money?
When I don't have enough money, I try to save from my allowance and spend only on what is really important.
Okay, thank you. Question number 4. Do you sometimes find extra ways to support your school needs? If yes, how?
Sometimes I save small amounts from my allowance, just like what I've said earlier, so I can use it when I need something for school, and I try to reuse my old school supplies or borrow my classmates instead of buying new one.
Okay, thank you. Question number 5. Who or what helped you the most in overcoming your financial difficulties?
The ones who help me the most are my parents and friends, especially when I really need money or support. Palagi silang nandyan para sa akin.
Okay, let's proceed to the last question. How do your financial struggles influence the way you handle money? For example, do ones like trending clothes or gadgets sometimes affect your budget?
My financial struggles taught me to be more practical with my money and I avoid spending on unnecessary things. That's all. Thank you.
Question number 1. Who usually provides for your school expenses and allowance, and how do you manage when it's not enough?
My mom provides for my school expenses and allowance. There are times it's not enough, and when that happens, I try to budget my money carefully. I prioritize what's important, like transportation, and set aside my wants for later.
Question number 2. What financial struggles do you face as a student, and how do these affect your studies or daily school life?
Sometimes my allowance isn't enough to cover both my food and transportation. There are days I skip recess or snack breaks. It can be stressful sometimes because I have to worry about my expenses for tomorrow, but I try not to let it affect my focus in class.
Question number 3. When you don't have enough money, what do you usually do to cope, and what strategies or habits help you manage your money?
When I run out of money, I usually try to adjust my spending. Sometimes I bring food for recess instead of buying on canteen. I've learned to prioritize needs over wants, which really helps me to survive the week.
Question number 4. Do you sometimes find extra ways to support your school needs? If yes, how?
Yes, sometimes I do part-time live selling, and this helps me to have extra money for allowances and other expenses.
Question number 5. Who or what helps you the most in overcoming your financial duties?
My family helps me the most. Even if we don't have much, my mom always tried to find a way to support me. I also rely on my close friends sometimes. They share food or help me with materials when I'm short on budget. Their support really motivates me to keep going.
Question number 6. How do your financial struggles influence the way you handle money? For example, do wants like trending clothes or gadgets sometimes affect your budget?
My financial struggles made me more practical. I've learned to separate needs from wants. Of course, sometimes I want to buy new clothes or gadgets, but I remind myself that school expenses should come first. It taught me to value money and spend it wisely.